When we talk about plastic surgery in Hollywood, the spotlight usually lands on women. But behind the scenes, a very different Hollywood scandal has been hiding in plain sight. From subtle 1950s tweaks to today's extreme procedures driven by social media pressure, these transformations expose a Hollywood scandal hiding in plain sight. For the first time, we revealed 20 shocking male celebrity makeovers, confirmed by surgeons, insiders, and stars themselves. These aren't rumors, they're real, and they prove that the pursuit of perfection was never just a woman's game. Stay with us and prepare to be amazed. Clark Gable. When Gable first stepped into Hollywood in the late 1920s, executives at MGM saw star potential, but only after fixing what they believed were glaring flaws. His ears noticeably stuck out, and his teeth were in such poor shape from childhood infections that they became a problem on camera. By 1932, MGM arranged for Gable to undergo otoplasty, or ear-pinning surgery, performed without general anesthesia. It was a brutal, backroom transformation, meant to sculpt him into the ideal leading man. The pain didn't stop there. Due to a severe gum infection, nearly all of his natural teeth were removed and replaced with dentures, giving him the million-dollar smile that would later win over millions. These dramatic changes were never acknowledged publicly. Studio contracts at the time forbade any mention of cosmetic surgery. But behind the scenes, Gable's transformation became the gold standard, a subtle yet powerful method of sculpting masculinity for the silver screen. As plastic surgeon Dr. Anthony Griffin later explained, Gable's case became a model for enhancing masculine features while avoiding an artificial appearance. His makeover wasn't just about vanity, it was Hollywood engineering a new male ideal. Cary Grant. Born Archibald Leach, his Hollywood makeover in the early 1930s started with a major dental overhaul. Studio records from 1932 reveal he had extensive dental work done to perfect the dazzling smile that would become one of his trademarks. Even as he aged, Grant managed to hold on to leading man status, often cast opposite much younger actresses well into the 1950s. By 1957, seeking to refresh his appearance without changing his natural look, he reportedly underwent a discreet upper eyelid lift to reduce the tired appearance caused by drooping lids. Director Alfred Hitchcock, who directed Grant in multiple films, subtly acknowledged these changes by noting how the actor looked renewed between projects. Still, Hitchcock, like many in the industry, avoided openly discussing male cosmetic work, maintaining Hollywood's long-standing silence on the topic. Grant's enhancements were executed with such finesse that they preserved his iconic expressions and didn't draw attention. To the public, his youthful appearance seemed to be the result of clean living and enviable genetics, but those close to him knew better. His longtime friend Katharine Hepburn once compared his maintenance to caring for a luxury car. It wasn't obvious, but it was certainly intentional. One plastic surgeon praises Grant's understated approach, noting that he set the gold standard for subtle male cosmetic procedures. Before we start, tell me, where are you watching from? Comment below. I love seeing where all our classic film fans are tuning in. Dean Martin. Born Dino Crocetti, Martin's early look featured a noticeably larger nose until it mysteriously changed around 1953, just as his stardom with Jerry Lewis was skyrocketing. A discreet rhinoplasty refined his profile, making his on-screen presence even more magnetic, without completely erasing his rugged appeal. Though Martin never admitted to going under the knife, whispers swirled for decades. It wasn't until 1996 that his longtime makeup artist broke the silence, confirming that Martin had indeed undergone subtle but smart cosmetic work. And that was only the beginning. As he stepped into his 50s during the late 1960s and early 70s, Martin quietly opted for more enhancements: a lower facelift, tightened jawline, and eyelid work to combat on-camera heaviness. The procedures were meant to preserve his signature look while still fitting the Hollywood mold. Ironically, the man who made nonchalance look easy was caught in a high-stakes balancing act: appear ageless without looking artificial. And even fellow Rat Pack icon Sammy Davis Jr. couldn't resist joking about Martin's touch-ups, proving that the changes were an open secret in celebrity circles. Though far from extreme, Martin's tweaks revealed the limits of mid-century cosmetic surgery, especially around the eyes. where the signs of work couldn't always stay hidden. According to plastic surgery expert Dr. Paul Nassif, Martin's transformation wasn't just personal, it signaled a turning point in how male stars would use plastic surgery to chase the fountain of youth. Kirk Douglas. In fact, Douglas was one of the earliest male celebrities to embrace cosmetic surgery as a serious tool for staying relevant in a youth-obsessed industry. He reportedly began his transformation in the mid-1970s, around the age of 60. What started with a discreet facelift to tighten his jawline and neck would later evolve into a full-fledged journey of surgical reinvention. Over the next few decades, Douglas quietly underwent multiple facelifts, brow lifts, and eyelid surgeries, each tweak subtly altering the man fans thought they knew. Unlike most in Hollywood who deny or dodge, Douglas spoke plainly. In a rare 1988 interview, he shrugged off the stigma, saying, "Everyone does it. I'm just more honest about it than most." That honesty, while refreshing, also made the transformations all the more noticeable, especially in his final years, when the stretched and windswept look became unmistakable. His son, Michael Douglas, later confirmed that Kirk had always been willing to use whatever tools were available to preserve his screen presence. And as surgical techniques advanced, so did Kirk's procedures, though not always with seamless results. However, while Douglas's early surgeries were subtle and well executed, his later enhancements showed the wear of time and the limits of plastic perfection. But in doing so, Kirk Douglas became a kind of blueprint for the modern Hollywood male, defiant of time, unapologetic about vanity, and a pioneer in normalizing male cosmetic surgery long before it became a trend. Burt Lancaster. Lancaster was one of the earliest male stars to quietly embrace plastic surgery in the golden age of Hollywood. His journey began in 1947 with a daring decision: otoplasty, or ear pinning, a procedure meant to tame his slightly prominent ears, an insecurity magnified by studio executives obsessed with flawless profiles. But Lancaster didn't stop there. In the early 1950s, he underwent a dramatic dental transformation, swapping his naturally uneven teeth for porcelain veneers that delivered the radiant, magnetic smile fans still remember today. Driven by his acrobatic roots, Lancaster treated his body like a work of art, constantly refined, never neglected. When time threatened to dull his intensity, he turned to innovation. By 1967, he underwent an early endoscopic brow lift, a cutting-edge solution for drooping brows and deepening forehead lines. It was a bold move, years ahead of its time, designed to keep his gaze razor-sharp for every close-up. As the decades passed, Lancaster stayed at the forefront of cosmetic breakthroughs. In the mid-1970s, he opted for a thread lift, an advanced procedure that promised rejuvenation without the long recovery of traditional surgery. While others balked at Hollywood's beauty demands, Lancaster faced them head-on. In his own words, "This business is about illusion." His commitment to subtle, natural-looking enhancements became legendary. Robert Mitchum. He was the face of gritty film noir, brooding, blunt, and brutally captivating. When Mitchum landed in Hollywood during the 1940s, his chiseled but uneven features, especially a nose that many casting agents called too rough, threatened his leading man potential. But in 1947, he made a quiet but pivotal decision, a subtle rhinoplasty that refined his profile just enough, without erasing his identity. His doctor, Dr. Ronald Curran, called it a correction, not a reinvention. Instead of chasing artificial youth, he focused on preservation. From 1968 to 1975, Mitchum underwent discreet procedures to maintain his strong jawline, never opting for the overly tight, obviously done Hollywood face. His approach was understated, strategic, and above all masculine. Unlike many stars chasing youth at all costs, Mitchum embraced his evolving look. His famously heavy eyelids, once thought to be a flaw, became a signature part of his screen presence. And when others urged him to get an eyelid lift in the 1950s, Mitchum flat-out refused. Only after his passing did the truth behind his near-ageless look emerge. What was once dismissed as genetics turned out to be quiet, calculated maintenance. In doing so, Mitchum rewrote the rulebook for male stars navigating aging in the spotlight. After suffering a serious jaw injury during a stunt on Deliverance in the mid-1970s, Reynolds underwent corrective jaw surgery, not just to heal, but to maintain the flawless face millions adored. That operation marked the beginning of a long and increasingly visible journey through cosmetic enhancement. You won't believe who's at number 8, a classic Hollywood icon whose hidden cosmetic surgery will change everything you thought about male stars. Don't miss it. Keep watching. Burt Reynolds. Burt Reynolds, with his signature smirk and action star aura, became one of the very definition of 70s masculinity. However then, since haunted by the creeping signs of aging and a receding hairline, Reynolds took a drastic step in 1978, one of the earliest hair transplant procedures. Painful and primitive by today's standards, the treatment left lasting scars both physically and emotionally. As the years passed, his focus shifted upward. By the mid-1980s, he had gone under the knife multiple times for facial procedures. A facelift in 1984 was followed by a more extensive one in 1988. The goal? To freeze time. But as many would later say, time always finds a way to show through. Unlike many in the industry, Reynolds didn't hide his cosmetic choices. In fact, he joked about them publicly on The Tonight Show in 1990. But behind the humor was a man increasingly at odds with his reflection. As the 90s progressed, his once iconic face began to bear the marks of too much intervention, taut skin, altered contours, and a look that no longer matched the legend. By the time he released his memoir in 2015, Reynolds was brutally honest. Much of it, he admitted, was a mistake, fueled by fear, by insecurity, and by the relentless pressure to remain Hollywood's leading man. Robert Redford. For decades, Redford seemed immune to the march of time, his face retaining the very essence of the American dream. Yet, as the years went by, whispers began to circulate. How did he remain so untouched by age? Unlike other stars who rushed to deny any help from cosmetic science, Redford never gave a straight answer. When confronted about his seemingly ageless appearance in a 2007 interview, he offered only this: "I think a person has a right to do whatever they want to do. I don't have any issues with it one way or the other." The ambiguity only deepened the mystery. Behind the scenes, experts believe Redford's youthful look was no accident. Beginning in the mid-1980s, as age started to show, he reportedly opted for discreet enhancements, targeting areas like his lower eyelids, which once threatened to dull his piercing gaze. Those who worked with him, like veteran makeup artist Leonard Engelman, recall just how meticulous Redford was about his on-screen image. He knew exactly how to keep the camera on his side, but Redford's strategy was anything but typical. Rather than drastic, headline-grabbing changes, he chose subtle, gradual tweaks. By the 1990s, as he reinvented himself behind the camera, experts point to a refined lower facelift, a procedure designed to firm his jawline without erasing his unique expressions. Dermatologists who studied his evolution say Redford's real secret was consistency. Small, regular touch-ups that let him age gracefully, keeping the wow factor without tipping into artificial territory. As he stepped back from the spotlight, Redford allowed more natural signs of aging to emerge. By the time he appeared in films like The Old Man and The Gun, critics celebrated his willingness to finally embrace the wisdom and character of his years. Today, Redford's approach is hailed as the gold standard for Hollywood men. Enhancement that never reveals itself, change that never overshadows character, and a face that tells a story, one wrinkle at a time. Sylvester Stallone. Stallone's journey with cosmetic enhancement didn't begin as a vanity project. It began with trauma. Born with partial facial paralysis that left his mouth and lower face asymmetrical, Stallone's early features were marked by a natural droop. But a brutal accident while filming Death Race 2000 in 1975 would amplify those issues, requiring surgical intervention. By the early 80s, Stallone wasn't just an actor, he was a symbol of masculinity, and as his fame skyrocketed with Rocky and Rambo, his appearance began shifting with it. Around 1984, fans noticed subtle but significant changes. A tighter jawline, a revised hairline, and a sharper overall look. Compare his face in Rocky III, 1982, to Rocky IV, 1985. The difference is undeniable, and unlike many of his peers who hid behind vague denials, Stallone occasionally leaned into the truth. In a 1992 Vanity Fair interview, he casually confessed, "I have had cosmetic surgery. I felt like a car that needed a tune-up." Years later, he doubled down, telling People magazine in 2008, "I admit to it. Why not? At my age, doing action movies, you need to look good." But Stallone's transformation wasn't just about looking good, it was about survival. Hollywood doesn't always make room for aging action stars. And yet, in The Expendables, 2010, Stallone, then in his mid-60s, looked chiseled, taut, and camera-ready. Every frame screamed resilience, but also revealed the quiet cost of maintaining a near-ageless exterior. By 2019, while promoting Rambo: Last Blood at age 73, Stallone's face told a story of decades spent fighting gravity and winning for the most part. Though some critics say his look has crossed into the uncanny, others admire his honesty. As Stallone himself said, "We all have to fight the battle of aging. Some do it more aggressively than others." Al Pacino. In his early years, Pacino allowed the years to mark him naturally. His aging in Scarface, 1983, and Sea of Love, 1989, was visible, authentic, unfiltered. But by the early 1990s, something changed. Subtle, almost imperceptible enhancements began surfacing. The receding hairline of the 80s, suddenly fuller in Scent of a Woman, 1992. According to hair restoration expert Dr. Robert Bernstein, who never treated Pacino but studied his progression, this was likely the result of early hair transplant techniques that created a camera-friendly, though slightly artificial, look up close. By the early 2000s, the changes were no longer just subtle. In films like Insomnia, 2002, sharp-eyed viewers noticed his jawline and neck looking smoother, tighter, signs of conservative facelift procedures typical for that era. And while longtime makeup artist Maurice Stein has avoided confirming specifics, he's hinted that Pacino approached his appearance like a true strategist, enhancing just enough to retain the intensity that defined his career, without erasing what made him unique. What makes Pacino's transformation particularly compelling is how it paralleled his evolving screen identity. As he moved from volatile anti-heroes to commanding patriarchs, his physical presentation seemed curated to match. This wasn't about looking young, it was about preserving power. By the time he stepped into The Irishman, 2019, even before the digital de-aging effects were added, fans could sense more work had been done, likely eyelid surgery, additional hair procedures, and skin maintenance that gave him a stylized yet unmistakably Pacino presence. Unlike others who surrender to aging or drastically reinvent themselves, Pacino walked a different path. He froze his image in time, not to deceive, but to continue performing at full intensity. John Travolta. Travolta's first surgical step was less vanity than survival. By his mid-20s, the breakout star of Saturday Night Fever was already losing hair, a crisis for a studio-backed heartthrob. Around 1980, insiders say he underwent an early punch graft transplant, an uncomfortable, visible procedure that bought him time just as his career stalled through the 80s. Fast forward to Pulp Fiction, 1994. Instead of hiding every flaw, Travolta leaned into a softer waistline and thinning hair. The gamble worked. Audiences saw a mature Vincent Vega, not yesterday's teen idol. But the respite was brief. Entering his 50s, Travolta doubled down on high-tech upgrades. Compare Swordfish, 2001, with Hairspray, 2007, a crisper jaw, smoother cheeks, and a surprisingly dense hairline hint at facelifts paired with advanced transplants. By 2010, the actor's look had become a masterclass in cosmetic versatility. Paparazzi might capture a naturally receding crown on Tuesday, while a red carpet appearance on Friday showcased a flawless hairpiece or even discreet scalp tattooing, observes plastic surgery commentator Dr. Paul Nassif. What's interesting about Travolta's case is how it demonstrates the full range of male cosmetic options, from scalp surgery to state-of-the-art hair systems. The switch-up grew even bolder after 2015, when side-by-side photos of Travolta with and without circulated online, turning his chameleon approach into a talking point. Rather than retreat, he occasionally posted selfies that embraced a clean-shaven scalp and natural aging lines, proof that control, not perfection, is the new currency. Beauty industry analyst Cary Grant summed it up in 2019. Travolta embodies the modern tightrope male star's walk, neither denying enhancement nor confessing every detail. In the ultra-sharp age of 4K screens and social media zoom-ins, his shape-shifting face stands as one of Hollywood's most unbelievable before and after stories, and a blueprint for how today's leading men manage the glare without ever admitting the full cost. Did you ever suspect that Hollywood's leading men had cosmetic surgery? Yes or no? Comment yes if you guessed it, or no if these transformations surprised you. Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise may just be the most unaging face in Hollywood, and that's precisely what keeps fans and experts buzzing with speculation. While Cruz insists his youthful looks are thanks to good genes and clean living, his evolving appearance over the decades tells a far more intriguing story. In the early years, Cruz's smile was far from perfect, crooked, uneven, and noticeably stained. But by the time Top Gun hit theaters in 1986, his grin had transformed dramatically. Experts point to porcelain veneers as the likely reason behind that megawatt camera-ready smile. But it wasn't just his teeth that changed. Keen-eyed observers noticed that his nose appeared slightly slimmer and more refined as the years went on, subtle enough to fly under the radar, yet precise enough to spark talk of a carefully executed rhinoplasty. As Cruz transitioned into his 40s and beyond, his age seemed frozen in time. By the 2010 S, his face looked fuller, smoother, and suspiciously untouched by time. Dermatologists, like Dr. Patricia Wexler, have speculated that this fountain of youth effect could be the result of non-invasive treatments like Botox and dermal fillers, methods that enhance volume and erase fine lines without the telltale signs of surgery. Still, Cruz remains tight-lipped, repeatedly denying any cosmetic help. But in an industry where aging is often airbrushed away, especially for women, Cruz's pristine appearance and his refusal to acknowledge any help exposes a rarely discussed truth, the double standard of male beauty in Hollywood. You'll never believe who this is. Who is this man? You might think you're looking at the ultimate face of American masculinity, the silver screen's most rugged icon. But behind the tough guy image lies one of Hollywood's most quietly engineered transformations. His rise began in the late 1940s, right alongside the golden age of westerns. But as the spotlight intensified, so did the pressure to preserve perfection. By 1948, his receding hairline became the first red flag, and so began one of Tinseltown's earliest experiments with hair transplants. The method was crude by today's standards, but the result, a thicker, camera-ready crown that didn't just hide age, it rewrote it. Fast forward to the 1960s, and time had started to take its toll. Deep creases began to crowd his legendary squint, the one fans couldn't get enough of. But when those lines started impairing his vision, the actor turned to a subtle eyelid surgery in 1964. It wasn't about vanity, it was about survival in a cutthroat industry that devours its aging heroes. Behind the scenes, makeup master Dick Smith worked tirelessly to uphold the illusion. He later revealed that the actor's appeal wasn't just talent, it was his carefully preserved image of rugged strength. And it didn't stop there. By the end of the decade, the aging process called for more. A discreet neck and lower facelift smoothed away sagging while enhancing that iron jawline we all knew and feared on screen. It was strategic, it was smart, and it allowed him to dominate action roles well into his 60s. Think you know who this is? Drop the name in the comments and prepare to be shocked by the reveal. Kenny Rogers. Few celebrity transformations have stirred as much conversation and controversy as Kenny Rogers' dramatic plastic surgery journey. Once celebrated for his rugged charm, the country music icon stunned fans when he chose to confront aging head-on, with a series of cosmetic procedures starting in the early 1990s. As he entered his 50s, Rogers sought to fight the signs of time, beginning with surgery to lift his hooded eyes. Unlike many stars who dodge questions, Kenny openly confessed to his enhancements. In a revealing 2006 interview, he didn't hold back. "I did have a lot of plastic surgery. I had my eyes done and a facelift," he admitted, calling the early results great. But the quest for youth didn't stop there. By the late 2000s, further surgeries left him with a noticeably tighter, almost frozen expression, a change he would later regret. In 2012, he shared the harsh truth: "It makes me look like I'm startled all the time." Kenny Rogers' openness shattered Hollywood's silence around male cosmetic surgery, making him a cautionary tale for anyone tempted by the promise of perfection. His own memoir carried a sober warning: not every procedure ends as planned. The key, he urged, is to accept what you see in the mirror and keep moving forward, no matter the outcome. Barry Manilow. Once celebrated for his soulful performances and unmistakable voice, his physical transformation has now become nearly as talked about as his chart-topping hits. By the time he entered his 40s in the mid-1980s, subtle changes began surfacing. His jawline grew sharper. His nose appeared more sculpted, quiet enhancements that still preserved the essence of his recognizable image. But as the years rolled on, so did the changes. By the 1990s, fans couldn't help but notice a tighter brow, a smoother complexion, and an almost ageless appearance. The whispers grew louder in the 2000s and 2010s as his evolving look became a hot topic in entertainment news. Rumors of multiple facelifts and delicate eyelid refinements began to dominate discussions, especially as the contrast between his earlier and current photos grew more dramatic. Manilow has occasionally laughed off questions about his appearance, tossing out vague acknowledgements without diving into specifics. But his silence speaks volumes. Unlike many Hollywood actors chasing youth for the big screen, Manilow's motive was different. He wasn't chasing fame. He was preserving the persona his fans had grown up with. What makes Barry Manilow's transformation truly shocking is not just the physical change, but how it mirrors a larger cultural shift, one where male cosmetic procedures moved from taboo to trending. Today, his new face isn't a scandal. It's a symbol of the high price of staying timeless in an industry obsessed with youth. Bruce Jenner. Few celebrity transformations have captivated Hollywood quite like Bruce Jenner's. Long before the world knew Caitlyn, Jenner's changing face became the subject of whispers, speculation, and headlines, especially in the age of reality TV. The journey began back in the 1980s when Jenner quietly underwent a partial facelift, hoping to fight back against time. But things soon took a turn. In the mid-1990s, a misjudged nose job left him with results that even he would later call out as disastrous. A bold confession aired years later on Keeping Up with the Kardashians. At a time when male stars hid their trips to the surgeon's office, Jenner's honesty was shocking. By 2009, he didn't just admit to more corrective surgery, he let the cameras roll, pulling back the curtain on an industry-wide secret. Each procedure, from facelifts to a tracheal shave in 2014, fueled endless rumors and relentless tabloid theories. Yet these changes were driven by Jenner's relentless pursuit of self-improvement as Bruce, not by any public plans for transition. What made Jenner's story truly groundbreaking wasn't just the surgeries themselves, it was the courage to break Hollywood's silence. By making his cosmetic journey so public, Jenner helped destroy the stigma for men considering plastic surgery, paving the way for a new era of honesty among male celebrities. Mickey Rourke. Mickey Rourke's face became a battlefield, and the scars tell a story that Hollywood can't ignore. In the 1980s, he was the ultimate heartthrob, smoldering, rebellious, and effortlessly magnetic in films like Diner and 9½ Weeks. But between 1991 and 1994, the former matinee idol suffered brutal facial injuries, a shattered nose, fractured cheekbones, and more. Each blow forced him further down a path of reconstructive surgeries. The damage was real, and so were the consequences. By the late 90s, aging and the toll of past trauma drove Rourke to seek even more cosmetic procedures, including a facelift. But in his own words, he chose the wrong surgeon. Instead of restoration, the surgeries added more distortion. By the time Sin City 2005 and The Wrestler 2008 hit screens, Mickey Rourke was almost unrecognizable. His rugged, altered face became part of his brand, a haunting testament to the price of pain and reinvention. Unlike many in Hollywood, Rourke didn't hide, he owned it. "My face tells a story," he once said. "Not always a pretty one, but it's honest." His journey is a cautionary tale of fame, physical endurance, and the irreversible impact of going too far in the fight to rebuild what was lost. Melanie Griffith. In 2018, Melanie Griffith, once the glowing face of Hollywood glamour, was diagnosed with basal cell carcinoma, a form of skin cancer that quietly eats away beneath the surface if left untreated. The first sign was barely noticeable, a small, unassuming spot on her nose, but behind that mark was something far more insidious. The treatment wasn't gentle. Doctors had to perform a harsh dermabrasion procedure to remove the cancerous tissue, scraping layers from her skin. The physical toll was brutal. Her once famous face, now covered in bandages, bore the raw aftermath of the fight. But instead of hiding, Melanie did something most stars would never dare. She posted a selfie of her bandaged face, unfiltered, unapologetic, and deeply human. She wasn't chasing sympathy, she was sounding the alarm. "Don't ignore it," she wrote. That simple warning, backed by her battle-scarred reality, hit harder than any public service announcement ever could. The message was clear: fame doesn't shield you from disease, and beauty means nothing if you're not alive to see it. Now in 2025, Melanie bears the scar with quiet pride. It's more than a mark, it's a survival stamp. And in a world obsessed with perfection, she's become a rare kind of role model, one who shows that strength sometimes looks like vulnerability. Through candor and courage, Melanie Griffith remains a fierce voice in the war against skin cancer, proving that even the most glamorous faces can fight, fall, and rise again. Caitlyn Jenner. The photo was jarring. Caitlyn Jenner, face partially obscured by a stark red bandage wrapped around her nose. No glam, no filters. Just a raw, unsettling glimpse into a battle that most fans didn't know had begun. Her caption was deceptively simple: "Recently I had to remove some sun damage on my nose. PSA, always wear sunscreen." But behind that understatement lay a chilling truth. Doctors later confirmed it wasn't just sun damage. It was basal cell carcinoma, a slow-growing but relentless form of skin cancer, known for disfiguring facial tissue and returning even after removal. For Jenner, a lifelong athlete, former Olympian and California icon, this wasn't just a medical diagnosis, it was a brutal wake-up call. Years of intense sun exposure, from marathon training to golf courses and TV appearances, had come back to haunt her in the most personal way: her face. The bandage wasn't just covering a wound, it was hiding a silent reminder that even the strongest bodies can be eaten away from the outside in. Though Caitlyn has kept most details private, the image she shared spoke louder than any press release. That moment exposed not only her physical vulnerability, but a universal truth. Cancer doesn't care about who you are, how fit you seem, or how much fame you carry. Her post has since become a viral warning, a red flag waved at the millions who still ignore routine skin checks or dismiss a suspicious spot. In a world obsessed with looks, Jenner's scar told a far deeper story of danger, denial, and the desperate need for awareness. And while she continues treatment quietly, her message remains loud and unshakable. Catch it early, or it could catch you off guard. Rosie ODonnell. It started as something barely visible, a tiny scab-like bump near Rosie ODonnell's left eye in late 2024. But that unassuming blemish held a hidden danger: basal cell carcinoma, a slow-growing yet potentially destructive form of skin cancer. Rosie didn't wait. She trusted her instincts and sought medical attention, and that decision may have saved her life. Surgeons acted quickly, removing the cancer before it could dig deeper. But the physical scar wasn't the only mark it left. For Rosie, who's no stranger to health scares, it was another urgent wake-up call. From surviving a heart attack in 2012 to enduring a breast cancer scare in 2010, Rosie's history is marked by resilience in the face of terrifying odds. What makes her story stand out isn't just the diagnosis, it's what she did after. She didn't disappear or sugarcoat the truth. Instead, Rosie went online with a raw message for her followers: don't ignore the signs. That innocent-looking lump could have turned into something far worse, and she knew countless others might miss the same warning. Though Rosie's cancer was caught early and treated successfully, her story underscores something chilling. Even the smallest signals can mean something serious. And in 2025, she continues using her platform to shake people awake, urging them to look closer, act faster, and never gamble with their health. Have you ever ignored a strange spot or bump on your skin thinking it was nothing? Yes or no, be honest, and comment Y for yes or N for no below. Your answer might help someone else take their health seriously. Danielle Lloyd. The glamorous world around Danielle Lloyd shattered the moment she learned the truth. The mole she had brushed off for months was melanoma. One spot, one delay, one diagnosis that changed everything. What began as a cosmetic concern quickly evolved into a silent threat that clawed into her peace of mind long before it touched her body. The weight of the word cancer hit her like a wave. Sleepless nights blurred into anxious days. But what truly shocked those around her wasn't just the diagnosis. It was the way the emotional toll began erasing the woman they knew. Danielle began to wither. Her frame, once strong and radiant, began to shrink, not from the cancer itself, but from the crushing anxiety it unleashed. I felt like I was disappearing, she later admitted. Haunted by visions of leaving her children behind her, her glamorous image gave way to pale skin, hollow eyes, and a kind of fatigue that sunscreen can't protect against. The vibrant celebrity, once known for her confidence, found herself battling something deeper, an invisible fear that stripped her of stability. Thankfully, after intensive treatment and constant monitoring, Danielle emerged cancer-free, but the experience marked her for life. She now devotes herself to educating others about melanoma, sun exposure, and the danger of waiting too long. Her voice carries the weight of someone who... Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer, the iconic star of Top Gun, The Doors, and Batman Forever, faced a devastating health battle that began in 2014 when he was diagnosed with throat cancer. At first, he kept the diagnosis private, but as the disease progressed, it drastically altered his life. He underwent chemotherapy, radiation, and 2 tracheostomies, treatments that left his voice severely damaged and permanently changed his ability to speak. Despite the overwhelming toll on his health and appearance, Kilmer didn't retreat from the public eye. He returned to the screen in Top Gun Maverick, where his voice had to be digitally recreated due to the loss of his own. The once charismatic leading man was now visibly frail, but his spirit remained fierce. Through the 2021 documentary Val, he offered a brutally honest look at his transformation, revealing a man who continued to fight for his voice, both literally and figuratively. Sadly, in April 2025, Val Kilmer passed away at the age of 65 due to pneumonia, a complication stemming from his long battle with cancer. His death marked the end of a remarkable journey, one defined not only by Hollywood stardom, but by immense resilience in the face of relentless suffering. Kilmer's legacy now lives on as a powerful reminder of how quickly health can fade and how courage often emerges when the spotlight fades. Khloe Kardashian. Khloe Kardashian never expected that a small, stubborn blemish on her face would spiral into a life-altering nightmare. What began as a tiny bump she dismissed for months was, in reality, an aggressive tumor, the return of a shadow she thought she'd left behind at 19 when surgeons first cut a cancerous growth from her back. This wasn't just a scare. For Khloe, cancer is a recurring threat, lurking beneath the surface no matter how much she fights. Despite years of rigorous self-care, strict sun protection, and public awareness about skin health, the disease struck again, proving just how merciless and unpredictable cancer can be. In 2025, the scars are more than skin deep. Khloe's ongoing battle has left visible marks, haunting anxieties, and a profound emotional toll that even her fame cannot shield her from. Her journey has also collided with very public struggles over her weight and body image, making the fight even more brutal. The pressure of constant media scrutiny, amplified by fluctuating weight and battles with obesity, only magnifies her pain, both physically and mentally. Today, Khloe stands as a living warning to millions. Even the most glamorous lives can be devastated by cancer. Instead of hiding her scars, she uses her story to urge others not to ignore the silent signs and to seek help before it's too late. Khloe's fight is a powerful testament to resilience and the urgent need for vigilance in the face of cancer's relentless threat. If Khloe's story shook you, just wait. What comes next will leave you speechless. Comment #2 if you're still watching, and brace yourself for the next reveal. Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman's battle with skin cancer began with what seemed like a harmless spot, but quickly spiraled into a nightmare that has haunted him for over a decade. Since his first diagnosis in 2013, the Hollywood superstar has undergone 6 separate surgeries, each one leaving new scars and gradually changing the face that millions recognized from the big screen. The impact on his health and appearance has been impossible to hide. His once youthful skin now bears the physical and emotional evidence of a relentless disease. This ordeal forced Jackman to become brutally honest about the dangers of sun exposure, especially as someone who grew up in Australia, rarely using sunscreen. The consequences of those childhood mistakes have followed him into adulthood, resulting in a fight that not only changed his looks, but redefined his sense of vulnerability and strength. Refusing to keep his suffering private, Jackman has chosen to share his experience as a warning to others. After another procedure in April 2023, he made a heartfelt plea on social media: wear sunscreen, no matter the season. It was a message born from personal pain and regret, resonating deeply with anyone who has ever underestimated the silent dangers of UV exposure. Even when his most recent biopsy came back clear, Jackman didn't relax or claim victory. Instead, he used his platform to double down on his message of prevention and vigilance, urging everyone to get regular skin checks and never take their health for granted. Through every setback and every scar, he's turned his private battle into a public mission, reminding the world that no amount of fame can protect you from cancer, and that true courage means using your story to... Roger Ebert. Roger Ebert, the legendary film critic whose voice shaped generations of moviegoers, was diagnosed with salivary gland cancer in 2002, a rare and stubborn form of the disease that returned multiple times despite surgeries and radiation. The cancer ravaged the lower part of his face. After multiple surgeries, Ebert lost his jaw, his chin, and the ability to eat or talk. The transformation was both shocking and heartbreaking. A once familiar face became almost unrecognizable. His weight dropped dramatically, and he began using a scarf or hand to cover his disfigurement in public. Until 2009, Ebert courageously revealed his post-surgical appearance in a full-page photo spread in Esquire. It was a haunting image, his lower face gone, his eyes burning with clarity and strength. By publicly sharing his face, he redefined what dignity and resilience look like in the face of disfiguring illness. Roger Ebert passed away in 2013, but not before teaching the world that even when cancer takes your voice, your words and your courage can still echo louder than ever. Brook Shields. The moment Brook Shields discovered that a simple mole on her face was precancerous, her world changed. It was 2009, and what began as a minor concern suddenly became a stark confrontation with cancer's quiet threat. For someone who spent decades in front of cameras and beneath harsh studio lights, the diagnosis struck deeper than skin. It exposed years of invisible damage hiding in plain sight. Brook, like many icons of her era, grew up chasing golden tans on New York rooftops, unaware that the real danger wasn't just beachside sunburns, it was the daily, invisible UV assault. She admits now that they never imagined the cost would come years later, etched into their skin by a relentless sun they barely noticed. That wake-up call forced Shields to rethink everything. No longer was sun protection optional, it became a lifeline. Since then, she's become a powerful voice warning others that the past doesn't stay buried, especially when it comes to skin cancer. Even without a formal cancer diagnosis, her near miss ignited a battle she refuses to ignore. Now in 2025, Brook Shields continues to speak out. She hasn't faced a public recurrence, but her journey stands as a chilling reminder of how cancer can begin silently. Her story has sparked conversations across Hollywood and beyond, pushing for greater awareness of skin health before it's too late. Beyond film. Farrah Fawcett. When the world first learned of Farrah Fawcett's diagnosis in 2006, it was hard to believe. The golden goddess of Charlie's Angels, once the very image of American beauty and vitality, had been struck by anal cancer, a rare, brutal disease often hidden in shame. But what followed wasn't just a celebrity health scare, it was a horrifying unraveling of a beloved icon before the public eye. Chemotherapy and radiation stripped her of everything the world once adored. Her signature blonde hair fell in clumps. Her face, once radiant, became gaunt and hollow. Her vibrant energy was drained until she became barely recognizable, a shadow of the glamorous pin-up who had captivated millions. What made it even more heartbreaking? She didn't turn away from the camera, she turned it on. In Farrah's story, a raw documentary she helped create during her final months, Farrah invited the world into her private hell. Her weight visibly plummeted, her eyes darkened with pain, and every frame exposed the brutal truth of what cancer really does behind closed doors. No makeup, no filters, just a dying woman refusing to let her pain be erased or hidden. Farrah died in 2009, but her last act wasn't one of retreat. It was one of blazing honesty, forcing the world to look cancer in the face. Her story remains one of the most haunting and powerful legacies of strength, visibility, and the will to fight, even when the body can't anymore. Patrick Swayze. Patrick Swayze, the beloved star of Dirty Dancing and Ghost, was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer in 2008, a brutal and aggressive form of the disease with a devastating prognosis. His diagnosis came suddenly, and the cancer had already spread to his liver by the time it was discovered. Despite the dire outlook, Patrick fought back with fierce determination, but chemotherapy quickly took its toll. The once athletic heartthrob, known for his rugged charm and powerful dance moves, grew visibly gaunt. His once strong frame shrank, his face hollowed, and his public appearances became marked by a startling frailty that shocked fans worldwide. In interviews, Patrick remained defiant, continuing to work while enduring the side effects of treatment, nausea, fatigue, and severe weight loss. He even filmed the TV series The Beast during his battle, refusing painkillers to stay mentally sharp. But behind the scenes, the disease was unrelenting, stripping away his vitality inch by inch. Patrick Swayze passed away in 2009, just 20 months after his diagnosis. His transformation from leading man to terminal patient was a heartbreaking descent, one that exposed the merciless nature of pancreatic cancer and the tragic cost it takes from even the strongest souls. Ellie Mayday. Ellie Mayday's fight against cancer began with a devastating misdiagnosis that nearly cost her everything. At just 25 years old, the vibrant Canadian model was plagued by excruciating pain, rapid weight loss, and deep fatigue, yet doctors dismissed her suffering as symptoms of an eating disorder. Beneath it all, stage 3 ovarian cancer was silently spreading. By the time her true condition was discovered, the disease had already taken hold. Chemotherapy, surgeries, and relentless treatments followed, altering her body and eroding the image the world once knew. Her glowing skin turned pale, her hair fell away, and her once lively figure grew frail. But Ellie didn't retreat. She rose. In the face of disfigurement and exhaustion, she stood defiantly. She shared raw, unfiltered images of herself, bald, stitched, scarred, challenging the world's perception of beauty. Her transformation was shocking, yet it carried a defiant grace that spoke louder than glamour ever could. Ellie Mayday died in 2019, but she left behind more than memories. She left a message. When cancer steals your health and alters your face, your courage can still redefine what it means to be seen. Up on a scale of 0 to 5, how powerful do you find Ellie Mayday's fight to redefine beauty while battling terminal cancer? Comment your number below. We're reading every response. Bianca Balti. The world watched in disbelief as Bianca Balti, once the epitome of runway glamour, was nearly unrecognizable. Diagnosed with stage 3C ovarian cancer, the supermodel's fall from physical perfection was not hidden behind closed doors, it unfolded in front of the cameras. Gone were the signature waves and radiant complexion that had graced the covers of Vogue and strutted down the catwalks of Milan. Chemotherapy stripped her bare, physically, emotionally, and publicly. Her hair fell out, her body weakened, and yet Bianca refused to vanish from the spotlight. Instead of wigs and illusions, she shaved her head and faced the world head-on, stepping out with a fearless bald crown and hollowed features. It was no longer about beauty, it was about survival and the raw, brutal truth of what cancer does to a body once worshipped by millions. Bianca's transformation was more than skin deep. She became a living challenge to society's obsession with perfection. Each appearance, a red carpet, a candid shot, a magazine cover, was no longer about fashion, it was a war cry. A visible reminder that cancer doesn't care how beautiful you once were. Her journey, filled with vulnerability and unimaginable strength, continues to inspire thousands facing the same battle. Bianca Balti has become a defiant symbol of dignity in decay, and her fight against cancer is rewriting what it means to be beautiful in the face of death. Shannon Doherty. Shannon Doherty's cancer journey has become a symbol of brutal resilience in the face of relentless decline. Diagnosed with breast cancer in 2015, the beloved Beverly Hills 90210 star endured surgery, chemotherapy and radiation in a grueling fight that initially seemed to pay off. By 2017, she appeared to be in remission, smiling, working and radiating hope. But cancer doesn't always stay gone. In 2019, the disease had returned and metastasized, spreading to other parts of her body and advancing to stage 4. This time, it wasn't just about fighting, it was about living while dying. The impact on her health has been severe. She's spoken openly about exhaustion, intense physical pain, and the quiet terror of knowing that each day might be her last. Despite the visible toll, weight fluctuations, frailty, and moments of deep vulnerability, Shannon refuses to disappear. She continues to post raw, honest updates, offering the world a rare, unfiltered look at what late-stage cancer really does to the body and spirit. In 2025, as she continues battling terminal illness, Shannon Doherty remains defiant, not in spite of the disease, but because of it. Her courage is not just survival, it's a challenge to Hollywood and to us all to face the reality of dying with dignity and truth. Came far too close to fading into memory. Michael Douglas. Michael Douglas, the Oscar-winning actor, known for his commanding presence on screen, first revealed his cancer diagnosis in 2010, and the news hit like a thunderclap. What many believed to be a common throat infection turned out to be a tumor at the base of his tongue, a rare and aggressive form of cancer that strikes close to the vocal cords and is notoriously difficult to treat. The disease didn't just threaten his health, it visibly aged him, stripped away his vitality, and altered his voice into a fragile echo of its former strength. Undergoing brutal rounds of chemotherapy and radiation, Douglas lost significant weight and battled relentless fatigue, at times appearing nearly unrecognizable to fans. The toll on his appearance was stark: sunken cheeks, a withered frame, and a voice that carried the scars of survival. Douglas later revealed that his condition was linked to certain lifestyle choices, prompting him to speak out publicly on the importance of awareness and early detection. Though he achieved remission by 2013, the long shadows of his illness, both physical and emotional, remain a sobering reminder of the price he paid in his fight against cancer. Jimmy Buffett. In 2023, the world was stunned when the legendary singer of Margaritaville lost his battle with a rare, fast-spreading form of skin cancer, Merkel cell carcinoma. The disease is known to be quiet and deadly, often hiding as small, painless lumps that are easy to ignore until it's too late. What made Buffett's story even more devastating was the secrecy. He had been diagnosed back in 2019, but never told the public. He carried the weight of his illness alone, choosing instead to keep performing, smiling and spreading joy while quietly deteriorating behind the scenes. It wasn't until his sister Laurie Buffett McGuane spoke out that fans learned the truth. Jimmy had been in a private war with cancer for years. By the time he started cancelling shows, something fans had never seen him do, it was already a sign. The man who turned beach living into a billion-dollar empire was suddenly retreating from the stage. The reality was cruel. While millions danced to his music in the sun, he was battling a silent killer in the shadows. Buffett's death wasn't just a loss to music, it was a gut-punch reminder that cancer doesn't care how happy, famous or beloved you are. Yet even in silence, he fought with dignity. His community now champions early detection and skin checks, honoring his legacy not just in song but in survival. Ewan McGregor. It started with a spot near his eye, small, almost unnoticeable. But in 2008, Ewan McGregor received a diagnosis that shook his world. 2 cancerous moles had been found on his face, one dangerously close to his vision. Without hesitation, doctors urged immediate surgery. The news blindsided him and his fans. Known for playing rebels, warriors, and lovers, McGregor was now facing a very real enemy: skin cancer. There was no press conference, no media frenzy. Instead, McGregor slipped quietly into surgery, the kind of silence that only made the story more haunting. He had always been the picture of rugged masculinity, blazing across the Sahara on a motorbike, wielding a lightsaber as Obi-Wan Kenobi, lighting up the screen with fire and charm. But cancer doesn't care who you are. It doesn't pause for stardom. What makes his story even more powerful is how ordinary it began. A routine checkup, a casual visit that became a life-altering moment. This wasn't a public health campaign. This was survival. He acted fast, and that decision may have saved his life. And now in 2025, McGregor continues to live with the shadows of that scare. While he hasn't had a public recurrence, he remains an advocate for sun safety and early detection. His journey is a sharp reminder: no one is untouchable, not even the stars we idolize. Cancer didn't break McGregor, it revealed the man behind the myth. Quiet strength, quick action, and a legacy that now goes far to protect others. Olivia Munn. Olivia Munn's quiet battle began in 2023 when she was unexpectedly diagnosed with luminal B breast cancer, a rare and fast-progressing condition that often escapes early detection. What shocked many was that Olivia had consistently received normal mammogram results and tested negative for the commonly associated genetic markers. It was only through her doctor's proactive risk assessment that the truth was uncovered just in time. From that moment on, Olivia faced a long and demanding medical journey. She underwent a series of intense procedures, including a preventative double mastectomy and additional surgeries to reduce future risks. These life-altering treatments changed not only her health but also her physical and emotional world. Despite the toll it took on her appearance and energy, Olivia remained deeply present for her young son and in 2024 embraced motherhood once more through surrogacy. In early 2024, she made her story public, not for sympathy, but to raise awareness. She urged women everywhere to trust their instincts and ask for deeper screenings, even when everything seems normal. Her bravery sparked a ripple effect, helping others catch potential warning signs early. By 2025, Olivia was recognized by Time as one of the Women of the Year for her advocacy and strength. Teddi Mellencamp. Teddi Mellencamp's battle with skin cancer has become far more defining than her time on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Beneath the glamour and fame, she's been undergoing over a dozen surgeries to remove malignant tumors. Each procedure has left scars not just on her skin but on her sense of peace and safety. And the battle is still ongoing. On September 20th, 2023, her nightmare deepened when a routine checkup revealed yet another cancerous growth. That night, she lay awake, consumed by anxiety, bracing for the unknown. But as she's done before, Teddi met the diagnosis with a quiet but unshakable strength, facing it head-on and speaking out with raw honesty. Her story is a sobering reminder that cancer doesn't care about status, beauty, or success. Teddi's openness has reached far beyond entertainment headlines. She's used her platform to sound the alarm about the importance of early detection and regular skin checks. Her journey is no longer just about survival, it's about prevention, education, and turning pain into purpose. In a world obsessed with perfection, Teddi Mellencamp stands out for something far more powerful: truth. Her scars tell a story not of weakness but of resilience, and in 2025 she's become more than a reality star. She's a lifeline for those who may otherwise ignore the warning signs. These stars navigated a world of secrecy, fear, and silence, but their courage and talent continue to inspire us today. Their stories remind us that living authentically is worth the struggle, and sometimes the greatest strength is found in embracing who you truly are. But there's so much more to uncover about Hollywood's hidden truths. What other shocking secrets do these icons hold? Don't miss out. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the untold stories of the Golden Age, hit that like button, subscribe to Iconic Inside, and turn on notifications so you never miss a reveal. And hey, check out our previous videos for even more jaw-dropping Hollywood secrets. And if you love these behind-the-scenes revelations, don't forget to like, subscribe to Iconic Inside and turn on notifications. There's a whole world of untold celebrity secrets waiting, so dive into our previous videos for more jaw-dropping stories.